With rising inflation, bank failures, and massive layoffs across multiple sectors, the future of the economy remains uncertain. It's no wonder the central banks have been getting prepared by stockpiling gold. At ITM Trading, we have spent over 27 years building a team of seasoned researchers and analysts who can help you prepare for any financial crisis. Our experts are ready to provide you with proven strategies to safeguard your wealth and assets in the event of an economic downturn or currency reset, which is frankly inevitable. Don't wait until it's too late. Schedule your free gold and silver strategy call by clicking on the link in the description below.
Hugh asks, graded coins come in sealed plastic containers and the containers must be destroyed to actually touch the coin. I see these containers as a third-party risk for a fake coin. The Chinese are copying everything these days. Isn't there an advantage to having a coin you can touch? I can touch my bullion, and when I bought it, I tested it for purity using resonance frequencies, using the Android app bullion test. Well, so first of all, with yes, somebody could replicate this container, right? But if it comes straight from PCGS, like a lot of the coins, if we get them graded, then they come straight from PCGS, we know they're 100% authentic. But we also, and all of the wholesalers around the country, also test the coins, number one, using the best thing you can use to test any gold or silver coin is called a Sigma Metalytics machine. And it uses current to do that. And it can go right through this plastic container. So everything that we sell and anything that's really going through trusted dealers is tested out there in the market. So it's known that it's a real coin. And you know, there's other research that wholesalers can do on serial numbers. There's pictured logs of actual collectible coins that when PCGS and NGC grade them, that can be viewed to make sure if there's any question, if it seems like it could be fake, that it can go back and look. They can go back and look at other records to make sure. So believe me, these things can be tested and are very highly scrutinized by buyers in the market to make sure that they're real. So,
but isn't that the point of going through a dealer like us?
Yeah, for
because
sure.
we have long-term relationships. 100%. Right? So, I mean, I would not be buying it off of eBay or any, off the street. And we don't buy gold off the street. We make sure that it goes through all the dealers so that it goes through all of those procedures and we can guarantee their authenticity. And then when it's time or if somebody needs to liquidate, we already have all that information because they bought it from us. They're selling it back through us.
Correct.
So, for me personally, this is the only kind of gold that I like to buy because I don't trust bullion at all. I think there could be an overt confiscation since for all these years there has been and continues to be a covert confiscation. Inflation is a form of confiscation, absolutely. And price manipulation of the spot market, which is just a contract market, is also a form of confiscation. So call it what you may. Personally, I don't buy any bullion. I buy silver bullion. I don't care about that. But gold, no, this is the way I want it. I know that it's real. I know that it is what they say that it is.
We do, both of us have gold, though, that are like fractional gold, that's older gold, that's not necessarily, that's not in a plastic container, right? So we might have old $20 libs or $5 or 10s, right? Smaller fractionals.
I mean, I have all the sizes.
Right. And they're not in a container, right? Because they're just raw.
Right.
And they trade closer to the bullion price. They're not really collectible per se. So
But we still get those through the dealers. So that means that they're still
and we can
guaranteed
test those
to be
ourselves too.
Yes, we can.
Right.
But they're guaranteed.
We use a
to
Sigma
be what we
Metalytics machine ourselves, and we can test them right through the plastic.
Okay.
All right, Ron H. asks, with the LIBOR scheduled to end by June 30th, 2023, will there be an impact on existing home mortgages?
There is very likely to be an impact because the valuation of the SOFR, the interest rate on the SOFR, is different than the interest rate on the LIBOR. And remember, they have put in safe harbor rules so that when you open up your mortgage statement, if your mortgage balance goes up because of these changes, which is the most likely event, I mean, we've never done this before, so nobody really knows how this is going to fully pan out. But what we do know, because we've seen it so far, is that as they've pushed those interest rates up, the value of those mortgages go down, and so they can tack on more money, and that's how you would see that. But we'll see. We'll see, because again, this is never ever, it's a huge experiment that has never ever been done before.
Down here. Okay, Tom E. How will de-dollarization affect other countries?
Well, that is a great question, and we're actually watching that unfold because de-dollarization is certainly sped up. So that would create more demand for those other currencies, right? Because now, like China has created an awful lot of cross-border agreements where they're using the yuan, and that means that the yuan, in terms of trade, has more value, and the dollar in terms of trade has less, because we're already down to 47% of global trade done in dollars. That's a huge decline. So that is definitely speeding up. But other countries will be better off because now there'd be more demand, and then other countries would be holding that currency again to swap back and forth. So other countries would be better off. The problem is that all fiat currencies virtually have no purchasing power left.
Well, and if with the de-dollarization and the yuan having ability to trade in, that just means they can print more of it because there's more demand out in the world. So they'll have more buying power, but at the same time, the citizens will create inflation. Because they'll just be printing more of it to feed into the demand.
Yeah.
So they'll just go, once you get in this fiat situation and you start printing money, it's ultimately long term it's not a good thing, but it'll definitely strengthen other countries' currencies at first.
For a minute, right. Just for a minute. And when you're talking about strengthening, that's just strengthening against the dollar, right? Mm-hmm. Or against other currencies. Because they're still losing, all of those fiat currencies are losing purchasing power. This is a global issue. So yes, for a minute, and then here in this country, that will create even more inflation because more dollars would be coming back if other countries don't need them. So.
Carol K. asks, I have been considering the possibility of purchasing T-bills maturing in a few months to 1 year as an alternative. If the U.S. defaults, do these T-bills go with it?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because Janet Yellen has said that she could run out of her ability to manipulate the numbers by June 1st of this year. And then if you look at what's happening with both the T-bills and the credit default swaps, the CDS market, would it be a permanent default? Probably not. We're not at that place where we're just going to say, no, we're not going to pay them. And they probably will choose not to pay if they do default or run out of money and lose that ability. Chances are pretty good that they're going to choose other things and not the treasuries. So there's kind of like, if the U.S. defaults, do the T-bills go with it? That's what the CDSs are saying. That's what the traders are saying. Yes, but it might be just a short term that they don't pay it, like a few days or something like that. It's, it's. Here's my hesitancy. It's hard for me to imagine at this moment that the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. government would say, no, we're not paying any of the Treasury bonds.
Right, to default on those
Correct.
Would be absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah, it would be on a global basis, certainly in the U.S., but on a global basis since so many countries hold.
Yeah,
so
chances
many of
are probably very low.
Right.
Especially in the short term like you're talking about.
Right. However, I might ask why you are purchasing, T-bills. Is it a little bit of pickup of interest over cash? because I'm thinking this has got to be your emergency money. You wouldn't put anything that was an emergency into a short-term basis. So,
well, there's a lot of people that have been moving out of stocks, like bigger portfolios, and moving into T-bills and stuff temporarily, and getting interest on it because they're taking risk off the table, which would be not emergency money.
that would be not emergency money, and you're right, there are a lot of people that are doing it. And so what are you doing? You're going from the frying pan into the fire? Because truthfully, how safe is the currency when we already know that we are losing the status as the world's reserve currency, and we vote with our wallets. And this is what I've been really trying to push so people get that concept, right? If you buy T-bills, if you buy stocks, if you hold a 401k full of ETFs and mutual funds or annuities or any of that stuff, you are voting for the dollar, and you are voting to allow them to rob you of your wealth much easier. When you buy physical gold and silver and pull it out of the system, you are voting against the dollar.
Yeah, you're like your own central bank.
Exactly. So this is my personal vote. I don't own any T-bills, nor do I intend to. Do I have some cash? Yes, I have some cash. I'm running a business. This is how the bills get paid because it's our tool of barter. But anything other than that, no. No, I don't. Because what really is...
to be honest, too, I mean, if you're just looking for short-term interest, there's so many accounts right now at banks that can get you interest where the cash is immediately liquid, right?
Or the money markets.
Yeah.
I mean, but any of that is risky.
Yes.
Like, I don't own that garbage.
But if you buy a T-bill
again.
today, like, I don't know what they are, but let's say they're 4 or 5%, something like that, and you think they're definitely cutting rates in 2020.
Then buy a long bond if you believe in the dollar.
Then you would,
because you're going to get more fluctuation.
Right, you can get better price appreciation, and maybe get like a 12% return rather than the 5%. So people are doing it, and Lynette's not a big fan, but
you have to do whatever you're comfortable
we always hold the view of if you
comfortable.
have gold and silver enough to protect what you've built, then you can go out and speculate on whatever you want to.
That's right.
Right? You can go speculate in the bond market, the stock market, whatever you want. Just have the amount of gold and silver you need to protect yourself so that you can go have a little bit more freedom to make the decisions that you want to make. But yes, you can definitely, I think, putting money in T-bills and worrying about a U.S. default is probably low chances. Like
right. I don't think we're ready to do that at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely playing Russian roulette. So there is a short-term chance that they might. I mean, look, it was once unthought of that we could default, and now the Wall Street is saying that is a possibility.
Do you think though that we would really default?
No. Why would we?
It's always showmanship and gaming,
so that we can create more money. It's just a distraction.
Political posturing.
Right. It's garbage. It's just no. I don't think that we're ready to go there yet. No.
Okay. How do you safely barter with either silver or the gold collectibles without being vulnerable to theft or possible injury to your family? It's kind of funny. We were just having this whole long conversation about this. Well, not this very thing, but close.
But close. So, you have to be strategic, and you have to be as private as possible. And there is going to be, you are going to be vulnerable if you're using that, but does that mean that you shouldn't do it? I mean, this does go to what we were just talking about.
Correct.
Right?
Well, and in this situation, if you are in a barter situation, it's pretty common that the people that are in the community with you are going to be used to this whole bartering thing that's set up. But I would imagine that in a bartering situation, that's almost like a post-apocalyptic type of scenario, right? Either massive hyperinflation or EMPs or all different things that could be post-apocalyptic. If you're going to walk around with valuable stuff, whether that's food or alcohol or cigarettes or toilet paper.
Take a gun and kill them.
You better be armed and ready to protect yourself. I mean, if you're going to put yourself in a vulnerable position, then you want to be able to be safe at the same time. So.
Right. So be conscious and pay a lot of attention. So, that's the part about having. Well, let's move the collectibles over here and just talking about with the silver. That's why a big, huge bar doesn't work. But if you have a few dimes and some quarters and silver dollars in your pocket, it's not visible. So until you make it visible, nobody's going to know because most people don't have that kind of thing. And with regards to the gold collectibles, I'm thinking that those you're going to use for much larger purchases. So you're going to know if this person is the same kind of mindset as you before you even let them know that you have collectibles.
Yeah.
And you're going to be converting those into real estate or something like that, some large purchase, because they're going to understand that the currency has no value. If it's a corporation, you're going to use currency anyway. But that's the way I'm thinking about that, both of those, whether it's barterable or collectibles. But you have to be conscious. And Eric, yeah, he would just shoot you. We just had this conversation. It's so interesting.
I didn't say I would be a raider.
No, you didn't say.
I'm just saying
you
have to be
raider.
careful of raiders. You have to protect yourself against raiders.
Yes.
Just like in this very situation, right?
And you booby trap.
Use
everything
booby traps.
around.
Okay.